Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday morning, October the 30th. We'll talk a little bit about the tropics here up front, but the main topic of conversation today will be the severe weather threat across the middle of the nation. That includes the threat of tornadoes, places like Oklahoma, Kansas, maybe farther north into Nebraska, for example, later today into tonight. I do believe there will be a second threat of severe weather, perhaps in the similar area next week, maybe about 6 or 7 days or so across the central part of the nation. You know, we talked yesterday about a secondary peak of severe weather, a secondary peak of tornadoes in the U.S., the first being the most important one, February, March, April time frame. The second one being October, November time frame. In both cases, you have a clash of air masses, oftentimes right in the middle part of the nation, with cold air moving in from the north and west, from Canada into the central U.S. At the same time, warm, humid air is pumped to the north from the Gulf of Mexico into the Mississippi Valley. That overall scenario takes place both in the springtime and in the fall. You know, the difference being the cold air intrusions in the fall are increasing in frequency, whereas in the springtime, the warm air intrusions from the Gulf to the north are increasing in frequency. But you still have that clash pattern setting up, especially across the middle part of the nation. Again, we'll have that not only later today and tonight, but another severe weather event likely next week. First of all, on the tropical scene, nothing right now being monitored by the NOAA's National Hurricane Center. However, we've talked about the favorable pattern that will be developing in the next few days. The Madden-Julian oscillation is one teleconnection index that I track this time of the year that follows the movement of a tropical disturbance across the global tropics, and where it falls can have a big impact on upward and downward motion. And indeed, it is moving into a favorable position over the next several days for upward motion to develop over the Gulf of Mexico, over the Caribbean Sea, the southwestern Atlantic. So this is the area that we'll have to watch for over the next few days, going into that first few days of November. November begins on Friday. I do believe there will be a tropical system here that ultimately could spill out over into the Gulf of Mexico during the first 7 to 14 days or so of November. So again, this is the area, once that MJO, once that tropical disturbance moves out over this the Atlantic Basin, upward motion will intensify right over the Caribbean Sea, Gulf of Mexico, southwest Atlantic. So this week, at least for the next couple of days, we're focused here on the severe weather threat. Next week, there may be another severe weather threat, but we'll also have I'm sure, be much more focused on the tropical situation as we go through the beginning of November. Well, speaking of the severe weather threat, this is the map put out by NOAA's Storm Prediction Center, and there's an enhanced risk right in this area here from, again, Oklahoma, Kansas, maybe even in northwestern Missouri, southeastern Nebraska, where tornadoes on the table later today and tonight. This is the area to watch out for the severe weather outbreak. Again, we have this cold air moving in across the Rocky Mountain states. At the same time, we have very warm air pushing up ahead of a frontal system into the Mississippi Valley region. This same kind of a pattern may repeat early to middle part of next week, so there may be another severe weather outbreak in the early to middle part of next week. But this is the area of concern, especially later today into tonight, and the severe weather threat does include the threat of tornadoes. Well, it's not only the clash of air masses with respect to temperatures that can support a severe weather outbreak. You need some other support in the upper part of the atmosphere, and one place we look at is the 500 millibar level here. That's the middle part of the atmosphere for what we call vorticity maxima. These are areas of spin associated with jet streaks in the upper part of the atmosphere. They tend to lead to strong upward motion down at the surface level, and here is a vorticity maxima sliding across the Rocky Mountain states as we begin the day here on Wednesday, October 30th. And this will move to the north and east. And by this evening, this strong vorticity maxima will be producing some very strong upward motion, indicated here by this plus. Strong upward motion in the lower and middle part of the atmosphere, and that increases the chance for strong to severe thunderstorm activity, and of course also for the threat of tornadoes. Places like Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, even into Missouri, even as far north as Iowa, right in this region right here. This is the area of concern for later today and tonight. Now, we'll move forward quickly here. We're looking again at the 500 millibar vorticity fields here. This system moves to the north and east. The cold front associated with it will slide into the eastern states and tend to weaken some. And just wanted to move through the upcoming weekend here Saturday, and then into the day on Sunday, and finally into Monday morning. And take a look at this. We have another impressive vorticity max. This one a little bit farther to the south, centered over the Four Corners region, and this also likely to produce some strong upward motion in the middle part of the nation. This is the forecast map for next Monday. So watch out for another potential severe weather outbreak early next week, maybe in the Monday, Tuesday time frame. We'll go a little bit farther in time, and this also tends to move to the north and east. But watch out, this is a potent situation here. Again, all associated with this secondary peak of severe weather that we often see in the months of October and November. Well, let's walk through the surface forecast maps. This is using the 0Z GFS model run. So was the vorticity maxima forecast maps, also the 0Z GFS model run. Here is a cold frontal system right now showing up here on the isobar pattern, stretching in this fashion right here as we begin the day here on Wednesday. Now remember that upper level support is moving in during the next several hours, and that will help to set off a band of heavy showers and strong thunderstorms, again all the way up to perhaps Iowa, Minnesota, and stretching down to Oklahoma. The threat of severe weather right in this region right here, that frontal system. You have the cold air pushing in from the west. Notice some snow breaking out over those higher elevation of the Rocky Mountain states. And we've talked at length about this southwesterly flow of air, this fetch of air coming from the Gulf of Mexico up into the Great Lakes, pumping very warm, record-breaking warmth in some spots across this part of the nation today, and the eastern states on Thursday, Halloween Day. But here is your area of concern, again, for later today and tonight. A lot of ingredients coming together for the possibility of widespread severe weather, including the chance for tornadoes. Here we go into the overnight hours. That system moves up to the north and east. It's cold enough for snow, maybe accumulating snow across western portions of Minnesota, eastern South Dakota by late tonight, early tomorrow. So Halloween Day may be filled with some snow across portions of the northern plains. And here comes that frontal system, that strong cold front that contributes to the severe weather possibility later today and tonight. Will also produce some strong thunderstorms on Thursday right over the Mississippi Valley, maybe the Tennessee Valley. A little bit less of a threat of tornadoes on Thursday, but nonetheless cannot rule that out. And then that front continues to move, and notice here what happens as it moves into the very, very dry mid-Atlantic region. It tends to fall apart. Here is that same frontal system as we get into the midday hours on Friday. Maybe, just maybe, a shower or two in places like Philadelphia late tomorrow night, early Friday morning. Philly, by the way, officially at the airport, PHL, Philly International Airport, the official weather station in Philadelphia, has now reached 31 days in a row without measurable precipitation. There was one day where they had a trace, but that doesn't break the streak of measurable precipitation, which is considered to be 0.01 inches and above. Again, now at 31 days, that broke the old record set way back in 1874 of 29 days. And certainly today looks like another dry day. Again, maybe, just maybe, there'll be a shower or two in the area associated with this weakening frontal system on Friday morning. No guarantees, but a shower is possible. We'll see. Then we move forward here. A nice weekend setting up for the Mid-Atlantic region, Northeast U.S., anchored, as has been the case for weeks now, strong high pressure over the northeastern part of the nation. Then we get into the weekend and the early part of next week. And remember, we talked about another possibility here of a severe weather outbreak. This is all the way now into Monday. And at this time, you have another cold air infusion with snow over the Rocky Mountain states. You have another influx of warm and humid air from the Gulf of Mexico all the way through the Mississippi Valley to the Great Lakes. And here is a frontal system pushing towards the central states, and this may end up being another severe weather outbreak early part of next week. We're now in the Monday, maybe into Tuesday time frame. We'll go out a couple other days here. Again, watch out. It could be another severe weather outbreak. Here's the cold frontal system at this time as of late Monday night of next week right here. Again, accumulating snow in some of those higher elevations of the Rocky Mountains. And you still have this southwesterly flow of air out ahead of this frontal system. So again, could be a repeat performance early to middle part of next week. Now, just want to go out a little bit farther in time just to show, and by the way, this frontal system weakens as well as it reaches the eastern seaboard by the middle of next week. Maybe a shower or two associated with it, but no guarantees. And then we look down to the tropical region here by the middle of next week. This is Thursday of next week, and GFS is showing some signs here of some tropical activity. Again, next week, especially next week, begins the real focus on the tropics as upward motion should become enhanced over the Caribbean Sea, Gulf of Mexico. We'll go out a little bit farther in time, and indeed we'll have to watch down across the Caribbean Sea and the Gulf of Mexico. This is going all the way out about a week and a half from right now into a Saturday, November 9th time frame. Now, I just want to wrap up with a long-range forecast from the Canadian model run of last night. And here it is, 10 days out, all the way to Saturday, November 9th. Look at what this model has. This has a very strong system all the way into the northwestern part of the Caribbean Sea, about to enter the Gulf of Mexico, and a second system off to the east of there. So again, to summarize, a severe weather outbreak later today and tonight across much of the middle part of the nation, and that includes the threat of tornadoes, places like Oklahoma, Kansas, maybe Nebraska, Missouri, Iowa getting involved as well. And I think there will be a second severe weather outbreak early next week in a pretty similar part of the nation, across the middle part of the nation. Next week, we'll certainly start to focus on the tropical scene. I do believe there will first be a system that develops over the Caribbean Sea, and we'll have to see if that moves to the north and west into the Gulf of Mexico. Certainly on the table for the first couple of weeks of the month of November. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.